medium dice, I guess you'd say. 3 reasonable sized carrots, just done in quarters. And then you need to sift through your carrot collection for 2 slightly smaller carrots, about size matched and approximately the same shape. So I've got a little bit of celeriac here. It's not a vegetable everybody likes though, so you can swap it for something else you do like if that's just adds a bit more flavour to the pie. Okay, so I'm turning on the pan, full whack to start with, and put in a little slug of oil, and then wait for it to heat up a tiny bit, and then in goes 450 grams of stewing steak in this case. It could be skirts, or if you're not on a budget like me, you could go for some pork steak, which would make it cook a little quicker. But I think actually the cheaper cuts give more flavour if you cook them out for a long enough time. Then I'm going to add the chopped onion, the carrots and celeriac also going in, a little drop of salt, and quite a few twists of pepper. Okay, so when the edges are just starting to brown a little, I'm about to add a bottle of beer. We just have the local nonsense lager, but if you're in a place where you happen to be able to obtain some real ale, that's only going to make the pie taste better. Just for Steve, no dish is properly complete without a couple of shakes of Worcester sauce. While my meat is gently simmering away, in a separate pot I've just got a little bit of water. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to cook these 2 little carrots, which are the structure for holding up the horns. So my carrots have now been cooking for 12 minutes. They are just a no more cooked, but still firm. So they're coming off the heat. I'm going to pour away the cooking water, and I'm going to refresh them with cold water to stop the cooking. Now to the short crust pastry. To make short crust pastry, you need half as much fat as flour. In this case, it's going to be all out butter. And we're just going to dip the knife into the flour and hack off some hunks of butter. Flour is just to stop it from sticking. Some people will do this next bit by chopping it all mercilessly with a knife, but I actually think there's no substitute for just getting your hands in. Coat each of the pieces of butter with lots of flour, and then break them up into smaller pieces, coating each of them with flour. And then from the bottom of the bowl, take up the flour and just keep teasing it out, pushing the butter into sort of smaller flat pieces, always keeping them coated in flour. It's like, pretend you're making snow. And you keep going until all of the mixture is combined and it looks like little breadcrumbs. At this point, you can work it as much as you like, and in fact the more you work it now, the less you have to work it later when you add the liquid. The secret to great pastry is adding as little liquid as absolutely possible. Then you get much shorter, crumblier, melt in the mouth pastry. Once you add the liquid, the more you mix it, the tougher and more chewy you're going to make it. And if at this stage you keep mixing until you really do, it's almost starting to hang together itself, you can get away with a lot less liquid and have much shorter, crunchier pastry. A little bit of cold water. And keep working it into one big ball that should clean the sides of the bowl. You don't want it to be too sticky so it sticks to the dish. If you've added too much liquid, you can always add a little bit more flour, but the secret to great pastry is the less liquid the better. And there we have one nice ball of pastry. I'm going to pop it in a bag and put it in the fridge to rest until such time as my pie filling is ready. The meat is lovely and tender and I can roll it out and make it into pie. This has been cooking away for an hour or so, and in the meantime more water has been added. 2 tablespoons of tomato paste and some Maggie seasoning just to round the flavours off. And now I'm just going to thicken the sauce ever so slightly with a dribble of gravy browning so that it doesn't leak out the pie quite so much. And I want it to be the consistency of pouring custard. Now for the fun part, the pastry. So I'm just going to dust the surface here with a bit of flour, make sure it don't stick too much. And then I'm taking, just as I'm working in a small space, I'm taking a little less than half of the pastry to work with in the first instance. A little bit of flour for the rolling pin too. It's not a rolling pin, it's a piece of pipe. We're on a boat, come on, you have to improvise. Try and keep the edges together as much as possible, makes it an awful lot easier. So now I'm just going to roll it up to make it easy to manoeuvre. I have a little pie tray here already greased, and I'm just going to roll it in there and carefully let down the edges. Use my fingers to push the pastry right into the corners, hopefully with not too many breaks, but it is quite short pastry, and if I do get the odd break, I shall just apply a little patch. It's going to be inside the pie, nobody's going to see it. At this point in time, I'm just going to take a fork and I'm going to slightly pierce the bottom of the pastry so that I don't get any part of it bubbling up when it starts to cook. For a moment, I'm going to leave all the edges rough and long, and when I come to apply the top, they'll all get cut off nice and even. This allows the pastry to move a little bit when you add the filling. Now I'm going to roll out some long thin strip for making the horns. I want this to be reasonably thin. Now I'm just going to trim the edges to get a nice straight edge. Then I'm going to take my carrots, which are wrapped in paper, to try and take off any excess moisture. As for a cream horn, I'm going to wrap the pastry around the carrot in a little spiral and then finish the end in a point. A little bit of a roll. A little bit of texture is not a problem, but just to smooth the edges somewhat. There we have it. 2 nice horns. I'm just going to dust the surface again for the final rollout for the top. Easy does it, nice and gentle. And again, we want it to be nice and thin. 3 or 4 millimeters is good. And once again, the easy way to tame the pastry is, roll it around your rolling pin. A little more flour there would have been good. And then for the pie. I reckon that should about do it. Don't want it to burst. And I'm just gonna wet the edges of the pastry with a little water, and that's going to allow the 2 layers to stick nicely together. I'm just going to go all around the outside of the dish with my knife. I'm going to push down gently on the edge all around my pie. Then I'm going to crimp it. Over here, I'm going to make a little hole, which is going to do 2 jobs. It's going to allow the steam to escape as the pie is cooking, and I'll make another little one over here, which should stop the top from breaking. And it's going to be a little entry hole when, at the end of the baking, we're going to insert the horns. The final finishing touch is just to glaze the pie with a beaten egg to make it look shiny and crusty when it comes out of the oven, and ever so much more tasty. Once again, as we're in the marina, I'm going for our little electric oven. Okay, oven's gone ping. Pie looks ready. And the horns are on.